Hey everybody, welcome to the Hobby Progress Tasting Room. And today I've got two more beers for you, both of them from the Martin City Brewing Company. They are a local brewery for me here, and I've really enjoyed going to their place. They've got a wonderful little kitchen and bar. It's super fun to go try them in person, and then you can take a 4-pack home with you on your way out. These are two that I tried recently at the bar. Had them on tap. They were amazing. So I bought a couple of packs and brought them home. I want to taste them out of a can and see if they are equally as good out of a can as they are on tap. You know, sometimes when you have something that's amazing on tap, you get it home and it's not quite what you remember. Hopefully not because you were too drunk at the bar and your taste buds weren't working, but hopefully because when it's canned, it just does not quite taste the same. It's the difference between buying Barks root beer out of a can and then having A&W root beer out of the tap. It's not gonna taste the same. Okay, so today I have the Belgian style Abbey Ale. It is 7.2 alcohol by volume, and it's kind of a brown ale, and I think was pretty good. We also have the Kentucky Friar. This is a Belgian style golden ale, and it is aged in a bourbon barrel. It is super prepared, sorry, 11.8%. 11.8% is a pretty good ale. Some ales get pretty high, but 11.8% in an ale is something. So I expect this one to have a kick. It did on tap. It almost tasted like you threw a shot of bourbon into your beer. It was pretty good. Like I said, both of them I enjoyed greatly. So let's go ahead and kick it off with this Belgian Abbey Ale. Like I said, it's more of a brown. So you won't expect it to be quite as dark as some of the beers that I've tasted in the past. But I do enjoy ales. I do enjoy them quite a bit. Look at that color. That, I hope you can see it on camera. That is a fantastic color. I apologize if the camera is a little fuzzy. I'm using my backup camera because I left my good camera at the last time I streamed 40K, and it's not here. That is a beautiful beer. I really do hope you can see that color. It's a nice amber brown. The head is almost white, just like if you were to pour like a lager or something. It gives you this nice, nice foam on top. It's a very pretty beer. I don't usually like to linger on how pretty a beer is because most of my beer is black, but that is super nice. That smells amazing. It smells like, well, it smells like an ale. So imagine, if you don't know what that smell is, imagine like a cider, the crispness and smoothness of like a fresh apple cider mixed with like all the good smells of a good lager. So you get, yeah, you just get a hint of a beer flavor off of the smell. Not much, but it's really more like a cider. It's much more sharp and good. It's really not overpowering. It's pretty subtle, but that's a wonderful smell. I really like that. All right, so I can already tell you, not as good as when it was on tap. Maybe I've got it a little cold. We'll come back to it when it warms up a smidge. But it lost a little bit of its complexity coming out of a can. It's super smooth. Not a lot of bitterness at all. Most ales don't have that. But yeah, it just doesn't have the complexity. It tastes like a pretty standard brown ale. It's got a good flavor. Let me see if I can pick out some more flavors for you, because that's a terrible description. Defining the word with the word. So it's really crisp when it first hits your tongue. Um, then you start to get a flavor at the end. It's, oh my, what is that flavor? Oh, I'm terrible right now. It's not fruity. I wouldn't say it's a fruit flavor, but it's, because I can't pinpoint any one fruit that it's like. I'm gonna keep going back to the cider flavor, um, because I think that best describes what this beer feels like. It's much more heavy than a cider. Excuse me, I am sorry. Um, so it's got a really good consistency, and it's got a decent fizz to it. So it's, um, I wouldn't say it tastes like a hard cider, because that's a wholly different thing. No, it tastes like a mild cider with the crispness and the flavor, but it has no one real fruit flavor to it. Hmm. Okay. On the cider analogy, maybe a bitter apple. Um, Not a sweet bitter, but just like a dark red apple. I don't know apple species, so don't even come at me with that. But no, it's that's a good beer. This is an everyday drinker kind of beer. Like, this is something you could sit down and have a six pack of, and not even think twice. Other than the 7.2 alcohol by volume, by the time you burn through a six pack of that, you're gonna be feeling pretty good. So yeah, no, that's a good all around beer. I'm gonna have to come back to that one once it sits for just a second. So we're gonna move on to the Kentucky Friar. So the Kentucky Friar is a Belgian style golden ale. Like I said, let me wash this out real quick. And when I had it on tap, it tasted like someone dropped a shot of bourbon in your cup. It was a very strong bourbon flavor, um, which not in a bad way. I'm not gonna knock on it for that at all. Again, that's a beautiful color. It's a little lighter actually than the Abbey, but that's a brown ale. This is a golden ale, and if you can tell the difference sitting side by side, so brown ale, golden ale, it does have a much more yellow pour to it. It's still pretty brown, um, but it's pretty. It's really good. So let's give this a smell. Okay, so it doesn't smell like it quite did on tap, but you definitely get a bourbon flavor out of it. Okay, you've heard me describe barrel-aged beers before, how it has that real sweet flavor of a barrel, which is like the sugars left over from a barrel after the bourbon has been removed. Um, that's what that smells like. It's got like a nice little sweet bourbon smell to it. So if it tastes like it smells, it's going to be a little on the sweet side for me. And it wasn't that on tap, so let's hope it's not. Oh, it's not that. Mm, wow. Oh, that is so good. That tastes almost like it did on tap. That one translates super well. Um, mm, this one's going to make the list. So that barrel aged sweetness is all the way at the end. Um, but up front, you get a nice little crisp hit on your tongue, and then it just slowly morphs into bourbon. It doesn't hit you all up front. So like a bourbon shot, you get heat because you're talking 40% alcohol, in a glass of bourbon, where we're talking 11.8, so 12% alcohol in this beer. So it doesn't have that burn to it. So you really get a little bit of barrel age at the end and then just a beautiful buildup. Sweet. Rich flavor. Clean all the way through. Sits a little heavy on the tongue, but it's not thick, but it's going to sit heavy on your palate. This is going to be a powerful beer. This is definitely something you don't want to drink with a meal. That would be pretty bad, because all you're going to taste is this. It would take something pretty spectacular to outdo this. I don't know. I can think of a few things maybe that you'd want to pair it with, but as a standalone beer, that's something else. I really enjoy this. Like I said, this is probably going to make my list of top beers, and hopefully soon I'll go over that with you. That's fantastic. Um, so being that it's 12%, I wouldn't recommend doing a whole 6-pack of that. And as heavy as it's going to sit on your stomach and in your palate, that's really a 2 to 4-pack beer. I think it sells in a 4-pack. I think you want to stick with a 4-pack. I don't think you want to get carried away with that, because I can see myself getting carried away with that. That's just a wonderful, wonderful beer. All around good one. It was good on tap, good out of a can. And that's how you've got a really good beer. All right, so now that I've let it sit for a minute, I know I haven't let it sit for a lot of time. I would like to, I'd love to give you guys 5 minutes, 10 minutes more to let this warm up. And and taste it, because I'm wondering if this ale isn't too cold. Oh, I don't know. That is a good beer too. It's just so different from the Kentucky Friar. At 7.2%, that goes down really smooth. Um, I couldn't taste the difference between this and a good lager. In fact, this is lighter than a good lager. Um, it's very drinkable. It's good flavor. It's slightly more complex the second time than it was the first time. And maybe that's just a little bit of the Kentucky Friar building on it. But I really think this Belgian Abbey is an everyday drink. I think you could get away with making that Belgian style Abbey Ale a go-to, because it's a fantastic beer on its own right. It's not quite my style for a go-to, because I prefer the darker beers if I'm gonna have something dark, and I prefer an IPA if I'm gonna go with something light. So it's really in between a dark and a light, and so it doesn't fit my personal profile. But this is this is a very good beer. I could see drinking this for St. Patrick's Day or something like that when you want an ale. It's not an Irish ale, don't get me wrong, but a lot of Irish ales are brown or reds, and this really would fit in with that crowd. So next St. Patrick's Day, which we've got coming up here, folks, I would recommend the Belgian style Abbey Ale. Yeah, that's just a solid beer. It's good all around. So of the two, I have to give the Kentucky Friar my utmost seal of approval of the two. mostly because it's going on my perfect six-pack list. It's not going up high. That one might very well take number 6, but it is definitely going on my list. I love that beer. That's going to become a new favorite, and I love it because, number one, it's local. And I think, personally, you should support your local breweries. They rely on your business, and it's amazing. But it's not a limited edition either. It's not even a seasonal. This is a beer that you can go and get at the grocery store every day. So if you live in my area, definitely look this beer up. It is so good. But 12% alcohol by volume. Limit yourself to 2 to 4 if you're really looking to get into the beer. Belgian style Abbey Ale, great dinner beer. Would go good with almost anything that you want to eat. And would be a great session beer, party beer. Like I said, St. Patrick's Day, you can go out and you can drink this beer all night responsibly and have a good time. That's just a fantastic beer. Both of these are very good. I have to give the award to Kentucky Friar right now because, goodness gracious, that's a very good beer. So, if you like this video, come and like and subscribe on YouTube. Come and find me on Facebook at Hobby Progress. If you've got any suggestions for future beers that you'd like me to try, you can either comment here on the YouTube video, put a post up on Hobby Progress at Facebook or message me, or you can send me an email at hobbyprogress@gmail.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.